Now imagine this. Digimon World, Digimon Story. In one. Think of like Pokemon Sword and Shield's vibes, atmosphere, but it's Digimon Tamer's world. If I'm the one calling the shots here, you know, if I'm the one making this thing, then we're gonna have to make a decision. You know, that's what we do here, okay? Now, we had to make some adjustments to craft what you're about to see, right? We couldn't get the full balance that I'd be looking for, but we're gonna ignore that aspect just for this video. Okay. Welcome to Digimon Dark Order. Go ahead. Pick your starter. First, we got Vmon, a speedster attacker who can both pack a punch and take one too. Next is Guilmon, a physical powerhouse with strong ranged and close-up attacks. And lastly, we got the all-arounder Agumon, a balanced attacker who gets stronger the more damage he takes. Count him out and you'll be sorry. So this is a world where Digimon battling is like one of the biggest forms of entertainment. That's why I said Pokemon Sword and Shield. The Galar region, if you don't know, like look it up. Just like in the Galar region, right? We gonna be battling in these big little stadiums as well. This is the equivalent of like us going to a football, a baseball, or a soccer game. The way that they battle was through projections, and so the people thought that you could only, you know, the Digimon could only appear through projection. People didn't think they could come into the real world outside of that. Main cast 3. We've seen it in the past, right? Digimon World 3. Traveling from city to city, collecting titles rather than calling them badges. Think a bronze title, because basically we're going to be entering tournaments, Digimon tournaments. As we're going along, you know, strange things start to happen, and we start to learn a little bit more, and we start looking into the dark truth. See what I did there? There's magic in how Digimon World doesn't force story on you, right? But at the same time, Digimon story is so engaging as they build up characters and the story unfolds, you know? So it's like, we need both. That's just the way it is. So there's two sides to this, okay? And we're gonna use Cyber Sleuth and Digimon World as like building blocks. Literally. we're gonna build. So starting with Cyber Sleuth, okay? Let me do that. Play the role of a detective solving cases that pretty sure all the time have been influenced by a Digimon. Progression happens through, let's say, jobs. These jobs are at the heart of the gameplay loop. I'm gonna use MSP for short, all right? I'm not gonna keep writing on it. Now in Digimon World, you play the role of a human, child human, chosen human child, one of these combinations, who has to rebuild the city after some evil force, right? Whether it's a Digimon, whether it's a human controlling a Digimon, whether it's a Digimon controlling a human that's now controlling a Digimon, you know, I'm not really sure, but they're doing something that made the city fall apart, and you got to come through and rebuild it. So progression happens through recruitment. right? And so as you can see by the data that we're kind of looking at, there's a lot of fighting going on, okay? You fight a lot in these games. It doesn't matter which one. And so basically, right, with my game, here's what's gonna happen. First off, we're gonna get a little fancy. That's number one. It's my game after all. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Boom. 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 Let's fix it up real quick though. Crop. Fix it up. It's taking a little too much room when it doesn't need to. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right. So bet. Boom. My game. In my game, we're going to play the role as humans, preventing evil Digimon from invading the human world, the real world. Yeah. Progression is going to happen through tournaments in the human world and, okay, and or, I'm not sure which one, and or recruiting in the digital world, Digimon world, digital world. So one thing I want to point out is this right here, right? This right here, this right here. Okay, those are important details in my game. You cannot evolve into the starters. They are starters. They are rare. They are special. Tournaments are all or nothing. These are hard things. You need to train. You need to prepare. And it's an all or nothing. You can lower the difficulty, right? I am allowing that. And if that happens, then, you know, you could heal. There's other handicaps we'll give you. And so when it comes to the bonus aspect, right? If we look at this one right here, it's like by just exploring and recruiting Digimon in the digital world, you're getting items for the three. Well, we're gonna get into this, but like whenever it comes to these tournament battles, it's a different style of fighting. And again, we're gonna get into that. But it's gonna be important, or should I say helpful, right? Because if this is optional, it'll be more helpful, not so much important. And then if your difficulty, right, if you have it high, that's when you're really gonna need these, right? You're gonna have to go into the digital world because you're not gonna be able to survive if this is high, right? I'm freestyling. Now, I just kind of hinted at it a little bit, but this is gonna be a 3-part series. And no, I'm not trying to be sneaky, cheeky, whatever you want to have. I don't know what part 3 is yet. I'm not hiding it. I don't know. I'll figure it out though. So with that being said, let's talk about the story. All right. So basically, right, the world is in a state similar to Digimon Adventure Try. What I mean by that is, and really I only mean this part, the fact that, or should I say, the way that the Digimon could enter that TV, that easy modify, maybe it was a monitor, regardless. When I say that, I'm thinking about Mega Man.exe, exactly that. So at the start of the game, it's going to be all fun and games. Really think about Pokemon games, the way you go from town to town, collecting these titles. You got bronze title, silver title, you know what I'm saying, so on and so forth. As time goes on, we get involved in some dangerous stuff and have to kind of learn about that darker truth that I mentioned before. But this is where the whole Digimon world side could come into play. As we dig deeper, we end up learning of a way, in a sense, to get to the digital world. We'll talk about that in a second. And then from there, we have to explore in order to find the root of the problem in the real world, right? So now let's talk about the problem. This is where it gets a little fun. Our main enemies are going to be the 7 great demon lords, okay? And contrary to their description, they actually seem to be working together for some reason. Turns out it's due to a corrupted Lucimon who's controlling them and trying to create a strong team of evil Digimon called the Dark Order, with the intent to rule both the real and digital world. Alright, so boom. Basically, the whole projection shit is a project. The Digimon projection project ran by a bunch of scientists. Lucimon is gonna end up kind of taking over one and beginning to spread across all of them. Not necessarily controlling them, but like poisoning their minds. Putting certain instructions in their heads of what they should be doing. And the idea is to find a way to open up a Digimon portal. And prior to Lucimon taking over, those scientists, they actually thought themselves, the scientists didn't actually think that the Digimon could come over into the real world either. And so we see something like this, the Chimeramon, they were experimenting with Digimon. You know what I'm saying? This Magnemon, that's us. That's us taking care of business. Taking, you know what I'm saying? So in Dark Order, humans, like I'd mentioned, are aware of Digimon's existence, but they only thought they could be projected, right? That's the only way they thought they could be manifested into the real world. And that's the truth that our main cast gradually uncovers. And so we go about this in two main ways, right? First off, again, collecting titles by entering and then winning these Digimon tournaments. And the second side of it is that we're gonna have to recruit Digimon in order to learn more about what these demon lords are planning. So the way we enter the digital world is through DIGIMON. He makes contact with us, asks us for our help in calming the chaos due to Lucimon's actions, and we're like, wait a second, this is a great opportunity to do some reconnaissance, you know what I'm saying? So it turns out Digimon battlers who gain that champion title actually get some privilege, and so we also identify that's going to aid in our investigation. So this is why we need to ascend the ranks and be recognized as the best. So if we switch gears to the Digimon world side of the game, like the last scene with Magnemon, Chimeramon, that was the Digimon world battles, right? When you know what I'm saying, when the Digimon are up front doing the shits versus a Digimon battle in the real world. Anyways, this scene is basically what happens when you get to a recruitment milestone. You find one of the 7 great demon lords and you fight them, you beat them, and you recruit them. And they, being mad that they got controlled, want to get back with Lucimon, so they team up with you / come back to the city. And there you have it. So if we just talked very lightly about the gameplay, because it relates to the story. The way that this is going to work is the story style and the world style, right? We're going to split the two and just keep it simple. In the real world, it's about that Pokemon Cyber Sleuth style battles. I haven't decided on 1v1, 2v2, or 3v3 yet. We'll talk more about that in a deep dive. But in the digital world, it's going to be just like Next Order. Personally, I love the collectathon. More importantly, I love PvP. But on the flip side, I love open world games, especially when you can get lost in the experience, right? So I just need both. So coming back to the whole 2 different routes, I wouldn't be opposed if it's like you can play the game during the Digimon world right way, or play the game the Digimon story way. But if you play both ways, you get a unique ending. You know, that would be really cool. And with the whole starters thing, it's personal, but I feel like with starters, when you actually pick your starter and you stick with them, they don't die, reborn into something else. No, they stay the same. I feel like it's a different type of partnership. And we get to get rid of that death mechanic, right? If we think of Cyber Sleuth and how one Digimon can basically evolve into anybody, that is restricted to everyone that's not starters. And really, you'll be focusing on that in the real world when you're doing your turn-based battles. But that's too much, right? We're past story, too far in the gameplay talk. We're gonna save that for part 2.